Warning: the stories discussed in this podcast may be difficult to hear. In a world filled with stories we wish were happier, sometimes the hardest stories are the ones that must be told. Unfortunately, these stories involve heartbreaking loss, unimaginable pain, and families whose lives were changed forever. These tragedies are not told for shock value, they are told because victims deserve to be remembered. Families deserve to be heard, and the failures that led to these crimes should never be ignored. Sometimes painful stories must be told, because true justice was never fully served. These are the tragic story of Courtney Drysdale, a young mother who had a complete life in front of her and her life was snuffed out, like blowing out a candle by a career criminal who should have been in jail. And the story of Deputy Ryan Thompson, shot and killed in a traffic stop by a violent criminal in this country illegally. This is episode 2. This is the life and tragic deaths of both Courtney Drysdale and Deputy Ryan Thompson. This is Justice Denied. I'm Albert Vigil. Thank you again for watching.
Welcome to Justice Denied. I'm Albert Vigil. For over 36 years, I've worked inside the criminal justice system as a bondsman, and over those years, I've seen something troubling happen again and again. Dangerous repeat offenders are released back into society, victims are forgotten, and families are left devastated. Today's story is about a young mother, a business owner, and a life that was taken in a brutal and senseless act of violence. This is the story of Courtney M. Drysdale. Who was Courtney? Courtney Drysdale was only 30 years old. She lived in Momence, Illinois. She was a mother, a fiancée, a daughter, and she was chasing her dream of owning her own business. She had taken over a local bar called the Line Bar. Friends say she worked hard. She cared deeply about her family, and she was building a future. But on February 2nd, 2026, everything changed. The day of the murder, Courtney opened her bar that morning around 11 a.m. Just minutes later, a white BMW pulled into the parking lot. Security cameras captured a man getting out. He was covered from head to toe, reflective jacket, hat, face covering, gloves. He walked into the bar armed with a gun. According to investigators, he demanded money. Courtney complied. She gave him what he wanted, but prosecutors say that wasn't enough. They say he forced her behind the bar and shot her execution style. Then, while leaving, he turned around and shot her again. Courtney was left dead inside her own business. A mother never came home to her child. A family received the call no family ever wants to hear. Police identified the suspect as Julius E. Burks, Jr., and what investigators uncovered shocked many people. Burks allegedly knew Courtney. He had reportedly worked at the bar years earlier when it operated under another name. Prosecutors say Courtney had previously reported him for stealing. He was fired. Authorities believe that history may have played a role. But what angered many people even more was his violent criminal history. Criminal past reports say Burks was previously convicted in a double homicide case in 1994. He was sentenced to decades in prison, yet he was released. And now another family is burying a loved one. Another child grows up without a mother. Another community is left asking, why? This is where many Americans lose trust in the system. How many warning signs were missed? How many violent offenders get second chances, while innocent people get none when dangerous individuals repeatedly return to the streets? The public pays the price. and sometimes that price is irreversible. Courtney Drysdale should still be alive. She should be raising her child, running her business, living her life. Instead, her family is planning funerals instead of birthdays, and her daughter grows up without her mother. This case is still moving through the courts, and will continue following it, because victims deserve to be remembered, and hard questions deserve answers. I'm Albert Vigil, and this is Justice Denied. Thank you for joining us. End of watch. Deputy Thompson, 42 years old, was a deputy with the Catitas County Sheriff's Office. He attempted to stop a vehicle after reports of reckless driving. The suspect fled, and a pursuit followed. The suspect exited the vehicle and exchanged gunfire with law enforcement. Deputy Thompson was fatally shot. Benito Chavez, a Catitas police officer, was also shot in the leg, but survived. The suspect, identified as Juan Manuel Flores del Toro, was shot and killed during the confrontation. Authorities later said he had overstayed a visa and was unlawfully present in the U.S. at the time of the shooting. Deputy Thompson left behind a wife, 3 children, a law enforcement career that colleagues described as deeply respected in the community. His brother later publicly stated he believed the death was preventable and criticized Washington's immigration policies, arguing they contributed to the suspect remaining in the country. That was his personal view following the tragedy. Another officer shot and killed by an illegal alien. This has to end. That's why this channel supports ICE and its officers. Weak judges cost lives. When violent offenders are repeatedly arrested and continue being released with little or no accountability, innocent people often pay the price. Judges hold enormous power. Their decisions can protect communities or put them at risk. When judges ignore violent criminal histories, when repeat offenders are given low bonds, when dangerous suspects are released back into neighborhoods, when victims are forgotten in the name of leniency, the consequences can be deadly. Too often we hear the same story. He had multiple prior arrests. He was out on bond. He should have never been free. These are not just policy failures. They are human tragedies. Families bury loved ones. Children grow up without parents. Police officers face preventable dangers. Communities lose trust in the justice system. Judges are supposed to balance fairness with public safety, but when that balance disappears and dangerous offenders are repeatedly released, innocent people can lose their lives. Justice should protect the innocent first. Being compassionate toward offenders should never come at the expense of public safety. When preventable crimes happen because repeat violent offenders were given chance after chance, families are left asking one painful question: why was this person free? And sometimes the honest answer is because weak decisions in the courtroom had deadly consequences. Voting for judges may be one of the most overlooked but most important ways a community protects itself. Many voters spend time researching presidents, governors, mayors, and sheriffs, but when it comes to judges, many people simply skip that section of the ballot. That can be a serious mistake. Judges make decisions every single day that directly impact public safety. They decide whether repeat offenders are granted bond. They decide sentencing. They decide whether violent criminals stay behind bars or return to the streets. They decide how victims are treated throughout the justice process. These decisions are not abstract legal debates. They affect real families. When a dangerous repeat offender is released despite a violent criminal history and later hurts or kills someone, families are left grieving while asking a heartbreaking question: why was this person free? Too often, after tragic crimes, the public learns the offender had prior arrests, prior convictions, previous warning signs, and yet they were repeatedly given chance after chance. At some point, communities must ask whether certain judges are prioritizing offenders over public safety. Justice should include fairness, but fairness should never come at the expense of innocent lives. Communities deserve judges who understand accountability. judges who recognize patterns of violent behavior, judges who take repeat offenses seriously, judges who remember that every courtroom decision can impact someone's safety outside the courthouse walls. This is why judicial elections matter. An uninformed vote, or no vote at all, can help keep ineffective judges on the bench for years. Many voters don't realize that local judges often have more direct impact on daily public safety than national politicians ever will. Your vote helps determine who sits behind that bench. Your vote helps shape the justice system. Your vote can help protect victims before another tragedy happens. Public safety doesn't begin when police make an arrest. It begins long before that, with laws being enforced, with prosecutors doing their jobs, and with judges making responsible decisions that put community safety first. Pay attention to judicial elections, research the candidates, understand their records, because who sits on that bench can impact whether dangerous offenders remain behind bars or whether innocent families become the next victims. Your community's safety may depend on it. This is Justice Denied Podcast. I am Albert Vigil, your host. Thank you for listening. When the system fails, innocent people pay the price. Thank you for listening to Justice Denied Podcast. We truly appreciate your support and every listener who takes the time to hear these important stories. Please follow us on Facebook for updates and exclusive content. Visit our YouTube channel. Be sure to like, subscribe, and ring the notification bell so you never miss new episodes. You can also visit justicedeniedpodcast.com to watch episodes, get updates, and contact us. Thank you for supporting our mission to tell the stories that deserve to be heard, because some stories should never be forgotten.